Hello, everybody. Welcome to IST 110. I'm, of course, Professor S, and this is today's class. So before we get into the lecture, what I want to first talk about is the Idea Makers Challenge. So it is a university-wide student competition held during the spring with a final pitch during the Penn State Startup Week. The challenge mentors student teams through a process of pitching their early-stage entrepreneurial ideas to a panel of experienced experts in a semifinal and final round. Teams of 2 to 5 students from different colleges identify an important problem that can be solved in a digital innovation. And anyways, it's a great way for you to learn about the process for the entrepreneurial process. It develops skills in pitching, from coming up with presenting ideas, and also with kind of working through problems. There's a lot of great skills that can be gathered from this. On top of these, there's also resume building that is helpful from this challenge, and also prizes at the end for winners. But anyways, as I said before, 2 to 5 people can be in a team. Don't have to be in the same college. The idea is though that it has to be a technological problem solving. The problem has to be solved by technology. Okay, so make sure you submit your ideas by February 12th. There's more information on the site that's on the slide, and I hope you could do it. Anyways, let's talk about what we're doing today. All right. So first I'm going to talk about stuff with the group projects. Then I'm going to lecture on operating systems, and then that's going to be it for today. All right. So anyways, group work. So group work is a big part of the class. You just had an assignment due before class today. I realized that groups were just formed on Wednesday. Things are a little bit crazy, so we're going to be a little bit more lenient on the grading for this than we have been, or we will be in the future. Anyways, the next step is the peer evaluation. It's already up, and it is due on Wednesday. Usually it will be due the next day, but since tomorrow's a wellness day, I moved it to Wednesday, and then there's the late grace period that's the day after. Okay, so the other thing is that's weird about this peer evaluation is that it's graded on completion. If you do it, you get. If you submit something, you get it. This peer evaluation is like the same format as the other peer evaluations. It's just, since this is kind of new, you're getting used to it. I just want to see you do it. Okay, then we'll start using it. So in the future, what's going to happen is you'll be graded on, first of all, doing it correctly, making sure you enter in the IDs correctly. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then also how you rated yourself, and then finally how your teammates rated you. All three of those things will weigh into your score for a peer evaluation. Okay? And so when I said before about ID, what I was talking about was, you know how you have an email address where it's like something of the form abc1234@psu.edu. One of the things that I use in here to kind of help count people is this. That's what I'm calling your Penn State ID. I have it cited as like ABC1234, so just make sure you use it. If you don't have this from your peers, make sure you get it. Okay? Or from your group members. That's what you need it for. You don't need it for everybody in the class, just people in the group. And if you have trouble finding it, you can look it up in the Penn State directory, and you can find that at psu.edu. But anyways, why do we do these peer evaluations? Good question. So one of the things is that it helps hold students accountable. I want to make sure that if you're doing the work, that you get the good grade. And if you're not doing the work, I don't think you should be getting as good of a grade, right? Because you're not doing anything. So I want to help ensure accountability for this. And kind of like help students be mindful of their accountability. It's not just like having consequences. It's about like creating this mindfulness, and like where does this mindfulness come from? Timeliness, communication, all those sort of things. And it's those different criteria that you will be judging on yourself and judging on others. And then also another thing is getting you ready for the future. So in the careers that you go on after you graduate from IST, assuming you graduate from IST, you'll probably be doing some sort of peer evaluations in the future. It's oftentimes a part of life. Not always, but sometimes. Anyways, the idea is like a 5-point scale is not too unusual. So getting you kind of used to that and being effective at it is kind of important. Holding your peers accountable. And it's not throwing somebody under the bus, acknowledging that they didn't put forth as much effort as they should have. It's just, like I said, holding people accountable. So like I said, getting you ready for that. Anyways, what's after the peer evaluation? So we will be working on roles and responsibilities next. I don't remember the week off the top of my head, but that would be the next thing that we do. But if you're looking for something to do with your group, and I'll try to give you guys like excess group time or excess time after class to meet with your groups. But you can start thinking about your topic. And remember, the topic is that it needs to be something that is some sort of technology and how it's affecting some industry. Okay, so I don't want you to just do some topic because you only have 6 minutes to make a video, right? You don't have a long time, and I want you to get into some depth. So like, for instance, something that's not acceptable is just virtual reality. Yeah, so VR, augmented reality, they're too vague. You need to get more specific. So like, how is virtual reality, how is VR being used in the medical industry? How is that helping it? How is augmented reality helping I don't know, Air Force or something like that, or like it's like those sort of things. How is automated driving affecting shipping? All those things could be possible things. I mean, the thing is like you have time to think about and work with your group to find something that you all can get behind, get interested. The more interested you are, the more interesting those videos are, and the more interested we as viewers can be as we enjoy it, because we will be watching them at the end of the semester. Okay. Now let's talk about operating systems. All right, so operating systems. The rough definition of an operating system is software that mediates between hardware and other software. So it's working with the drivers and the firmware of the computer to get the software to kind of work. It's that middle software. So you use these all the time, and maybe you're not even aware with it. So Windows, operating system. iOS, operating system. Mac OS, operating system. There's all sorts of operating systems. Your computer has an operating system. I just gave the 2 examples for that. Your console has an operating system. Lots of things have operating systems. But it's that software that works with it. Device drivers. This is software that works to connect specific hardware with a specific operating system. Okay, so this isn't even another in-between software. One of the important things with operating systems these days is multitasking. So the idea is like sometimes as the operating system is managing the resources, the user wants to run multiple programs at once. This is not too uncommon. Like, for instance, right now, I am recording this lecture and I'm using PowerPoint at the same time. That's at least 2 things going on at once. And rest assured, I have way more things going on my computer right now, from the things that I'm actively using to the things that I'll use in a second. And it could be things that I don't even know that I need to have running right now. It could be behind the scenes things. But the idea is like you have these things that are going on to create this kind of illusion that they're happening at the same time. And what they're doing is they're managing the resources. So they're like doing a task, like a task, and then they do another part of a task, and then another part of a task. And so they're going between the different things so fast that it seems like it's happening all at the same time, but it's not. Like really, it's like my example for my class, or for what's going on right now. It's doing something with the PowerPoint, something with the recording software, and it's doing these things simultaneously, and it seems like it's happening at the same time, but in reality, like looking at a instant moment, it's only working on one thing at a time. Okay. And it like this kind of illusion is something that we kind of accept so much that it kind of we both understand it to be something happening simultaneously and not at the same time. Okay. Because I guess I'm running these programs at the same time, even if the system is addressing it a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Okay. But anyways, the operating system is in charge of managing that stuff. Another important thing that operating systems do is they manage file management. File management is another important thing. So how do you get to the files that how does the software get to the files that it needs, right? Oftentimes that means for like computers and phones and stuff like that, it sets up directories, and so I'll get into an example of directories and just folders and stuff like that in the next slide. Let's just go into that next slide. So anyways, one of the things that plays a big part in thinking about operating systems is the user. Okay, so the user and the user interface is how the user interacts with a system or software, right? And that could be with the operating system. It could be with the software that's being run by the operating system. All these different things. These are things that are heavily considered, right? What's intuitive to the user, and that sort of thing. So like, for instance, when we're thinking about a user and their interface, thinking about like the difference between Paint, Microsoft Paint, and Photoshop, right? So both of those are kind of art software sort of things, but they have different audiences. So they're like, when they're planning out their different things that they offer, it's considering the different people that will be using it, right? So Paint, it's they want it to be a little bit more approachable. It's for like anybody to use. It comes with every Windows operating system, and so it needs to be accessible. It needs to be like accessible to the point like somebody opens it up and they have an idea for how to do everything, right? Whereas Photoshop, there's a little bit more of a learning curve because it's used more from professionals. Professionals don't really use Microsoft Paint. And if they do, it's kind of, maybe it's an in-between. I don't know. But the idea is like Photoshop is designed for people to do more professional like stuff. Not throwing shade, just calling it as it is, right? And so when the developers are coming up with these different softwares, so there's probably a bigger team working on Photoshop than on Paint, but the idea is like the user that they have in mind is different for each of them, and the emphasis of the user is different for each of them. So there's going to be different priorities made, right? And it's like how the user interfaces with it. Another important aspect is the graphical user interface, the GUI. And what this is a user interface that uses shapes and other visual elements to help make the interface more intuitive to the user. Oftentimes what it does is it adds a level of abstraction to make things kind of easier. Like, so for instance, as I was hinting before with the directory system. So think about like whatever operating system you're using on, like as a computer. Think about how do you get to files that are in folders? And if you think about the concept of the folder, like if you click on a folder, you open it up and you get a new window that has the different files that are in it. Maybe there's more folders. Maybe there's a folder in there. And so that is an example of a graphical abstraction, right? Because it's presenting this abstract concept of items in a folder. And maybe it's something that you've been like so accustomed to that it's not like really that new, or you don't really understand the abstraction. But the idea is like usually the computer doesn't look at the directory in the same way that you do with that picture, because the idea is like what that window does is it's showing you things in that folder. There's not a physical folder that contains those things. It's just really more of a mapping in your hard drive or your solid state drive or your USB drive or whatever that's saying one of the properties of this file is that it's in this folder, sort of thing. And that's not how it's presented to you. You see something that looks more like there is these objects in this folder. And we may even say that it's like that too. But the idea is like it's not physically in there. It's just tied to it. And so it just adds that level of abstraction to kind of make it easier for us to think about the directory system, right? Directory system is the file management system. Okay, so an example of an operating system that's not a graphical user interface, a GUI, is DOS. This was one of the early operating systems in personal computers. And the idea is like you'd have a command line and you tell it to do the different things. So if you wanted to see what was in a directory, you'd have to say, I want to see what's in the directory. And you have to do all these different things. So not all operating systems use graphical interface, but a lot of them today are. Which brings me to the assignment. So what I want you guys to do, the assignment that I have, is find a graphical user interface. I want to look for things that are not necessarily like the operating system in your PC, your tablet, consoles, or phones, but I want to see like you come up with what's a graphical user interface that does a good job. So these could be devices that you interact with, like maybe you have a smart device, like a smart fridge, or your car has some sort of system in it. Those could have graphical user interfaces, but also notice not all of them do. Like not all cars have a graphical user interface. Like usually if there's a built-in thing that you interact with to choose between radio, like on the screen, you have a graphical thing that determines if you want to use the GPS or if you want to use connect your phone or you want to call somebody or those different things. That could be a graphical user interface on your car. But it might not be. I mean, you just have to like think about, is this a graphical user interface and is it doing its job? So things that I want you to think about for this graphical user interface. Is it intuitive? Does it make sense? How easy was it for you to learn how to use it? Were you able to open the box and start using it? Or did you like have to read the directions and it took some time? Now, just because there's a learning curve doesn't mean it doesn't make it worse than another. It just makes it different. I mean, maybe that is another thing that you have to work to learn how to use that device. But I want to know what makes that the best for you. Why do you like it so much? How is it so helpful for you? What's the purpose of the device? What's the purpose of the graphical user interface? How is it helping? What's it abstracting for you? What is it doing for you? How does it help the device? Those sorts of questions are what I'm sort of looking for. Now, I realize that some smart devices might use your phone or use apps on your phone, and that's okay. But just think about what the device is, or what the device is, and the specifically thing that I want to focus on is how is it represented in the graphical user interface. Like that graphical user interface, that's what I want you to focus on. Okay, and that's all I have for you guys today. That is due, I believe, before class on Monday. So, see you Wednesday. Remember, we're going to talk, and then there's going to be a quiz, and I will see you all then. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press the like button. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send an email through Canvas to both me and the rest of the teaching team, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Do not send it through normal email. You will not get as fast response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, please leave in the comments below. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for when I post the next video. Anyway, I think that's good for now, and I will see you all next class.